Welcome back, everyone. We're diving deep today, and it's a big one, folks. Elon Musk.
A giant, for sure.
And our guide is Walter Isaacson's 2023 biography.
Yeah, a really in-depth look. From his childhood all the way to SpaceX and Tesla. It's quite a story, honestly.
The book starts with his childhood, and wow, talk about intense. Growing up in South Africa during apartheid, violence was everywhere.
Yeah, Isaacson really gets into it. There's this one part, it's pretty chilling. Young Elon and his brother, they see a dead body right after getting off a train.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it had a knife in its brain, just a really stark image of what it was like, the environment he grew up in.
Man, that's heavy. It makes you think, right? How does that kind of violence, seeing that as a kid, how does it affect you?
It's definitely a question. I mean, where do some of these intense personality traits come from? And you see these difficult relationships with father figures throughout his life.
Right. Speaking of, Elon calls his dad, Errol Musk, a dark human. That's intense. Sounds like his mom, Mae Musk, had a much more positive impact. Working all those jobs, supporting the family, encouraging him to learn.
Yeah, she seems really key. You can see her influence in his resilience, his work ethic. And she loved science fiction, too. Elon got that from her. It was an escape for him, but also inspiring.
It's funny, isn't it? Science fiction is full of people overcoming these impossible odds. Kind of like Musk himself.
It's true. And even as a kid, he was like that. 12 years old, he codes and sells a video game. That's not just a kid messing around. That's something else.
Definitely. Okay, so fast forward a bit. Canada, then the U.S., ends up at UPenn.
Yep. And that's where it all comes together. The physics, the computers, the business. Isaacson makes it clear this is the foundation.
I read about him gaming a business simulation in one of his classes.
Classic Elon, right. Always got to find the hack.
But it wasn't all work, work, work. Isaacson mentioned some partying in college, too. Sounds kind of wild.
Again, extremes, right? Intense focus, intense everything.
And somewhere in there, he falls in love, marries Justine Musk. Isaacson really gets into their relationship, and it's revealing. Shows you his ambition, but also some downsides, maybe.
Yeah, there's this part during their first dance at their wedding. He whispers to her, I am the alpha in this relationship.
Oh, wow.
Kind of sets the tone right.
Yeah.
The need for control. It's a big theme.
Yeah, yikes. Okay, so college is over. Musk heads to Silicon Valley. It's 1995, the internet is booming, and he and his brother start Zip2. Classic startup story, right? Sleeping in the office, ramen noodles, big dream.
Absolutely. And Isaacson talks about these fights they had, Elon and Kimball.
Yeah.
Intense, almost physical sometimes.
hmm
That competitive spirit, always there.
But it worked out right. They sell Zip2 for over 300 million. He's a multimillionaire before he turns 30.
It's a turning point for sure. He's got the money, he's got the reputation. He's not just some tech guy anymore. He's a visionary.
But he doesn't stop. He's on to the next thing. X.com, revolutionizing the financial world. Leads to PayPal, right?
Right. And the PayPal mafia, all these crazy talented people shaping the future of tech. Peter Thiel, Reid Hoffman, so many names.
But it wasn't all easy at PayPal, right? Musk, he can be tough to work with.
That's true. That drive, that needy control things cause clashes. And in the end, he's ousted from PayPal during his honeymoon. Can you believe it?
Ouch. That's rough. And then right after that, almost dies from malaria. It's like something out of a movie.
It's a turning point.
Hmm.
He looks back, and it makes him think, what's important? He wants to make a real impact. And that's where SpaceX comes in.
But it's not just rockets, is it? It's this whole vision, making humanity multiplanetary. That's pretty ambitious.
It is. But before we blast off, let's talk about Tesla for a second. Everyone knows Musk and electric cars, but his interest goes way back.
Yeah. He invested in that early prototype, the T0.
Right. That sleek electric sports car, it showed what was possible. But the big car companies, they weren't taking it seriously, and that bothered him.
So he's thinking, I'll do it myself.
Not at first. He invests in Tesla, becomes chairman.
Yeah.
Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning, they founded it. But Musk, he can't stay hands-off for long.
Yeah, he's got to be in control.
And there were clashes, of course.
Yeah.
He had a vision more than just electric. He wanted the best car, period.
That's a big goal. And I bet those early days at Tesla were tough.
Oh, yeah. Production problems, money troubles, they almost went bankrupt, making the Roadster their first car.
So we've got SpaceX almost broke, trying to get to space, and Tesla struggling to get electric cars on the road. A lot of pressure on Musk.
It was. Isaacson talks about the toll it took, working crazy hours, sleeping in the factory, pushing everyone hard, including himself.
And his personality, that probably didn't make it any easier.
No. He's demanding, wants things his way, micromanages. It's all there in the book. Like, there's this story, he's planning a Tesla event, and he's personally designing the napkins.
No way, seriously. That's, wow. People must have had a tough time working for him back then.
Some did, some thrived. He's inspiring, there's no doubt. But his first marriage with Justine, it falls apart during this time. And she's honest in the book about how hard it was to live with someone so focused on work.
It's a common story, isn't it? Success comes at a price, especially for someone like Musk.
That's what makes Isaacson's book so interesting. It's not just the celebration. It shows you the whole picture, the good and the bad, the drive, the ambition, but also the cost.
So here he is, leading these two incredible companies, SpaceX, Tesla, pushing the limits, fighting financial battles. His personal life is in turmoil, and then that's not even all of it, is it?
Nope. There's Solar City, Neuralink, the Boring Company. This guy never stops. He really believes technology can solve anything.
And then there's AI. He's been pretty worried about that lately, hasn't he?
Yeah, very vocal about the dangers. He even co-founded OpenAI to make sure AI is used for good. But that outspoken as it makes him controversial, too.
That's Musk, all right. Never afraid to shake things up. Which brings us to a big one, Twitter.
Ah, yes. The platform that would give him a bigger voice than ever and cause him a whole lot of trouble. This is where things get really wild.
All right, well, let's get into it then. What was it about Twitter that drew him in?
Well, free speech has always been a big deal for him. And he felt like Twitter was silencing people, censoring certain ideas. Too much political correctness, he thought.
So he buys Twitter to change it.
Pretty much. Like a digital warrior fighting for free speech, taking on the establishment.
But his takeover, it was a mess, right?
Chaotic is an understatement. Firing people left and right, making decisions on the fly. A lot of people were angry, some loved it. It was all over the place.
Remember the blue checkmark thing? Like he was making stuff up as he went along?
Yeah, he could be impulsive, that's for sure. And he doesn't always think things through. He also seemed to enjoy poking the bear. You know, those tweets, they alienated a lot of people, even his supporters.
It's funny, isn't it? The same personality that built these companies, it kind of backfired on Twitter. Like he didn't get the whole social media thing.
That's a good point. And while all this Twitter drama is going on, his personal life is just as crazy as ever. He has twins with Siobhan Zelis, a top executive at Neuralink.
Wait, what? Seriously?
Yeah, it was a big surprise to everyone. Like I said, never a dull moment with this guy.
And speaking of Neuralink, what's that all about again?
So Neuralink is developing brain-computer interfaces. Basically, chips implanted in your brain to connect with computers.
Sounds straight out of science fiction. What's he trying to do with that?
At first, it was about helping paralyzed people move again. But with Musk, there's always a bigger plan.
I knew it. So what's the grand vision for Neuralink?
He thinks it could, like, enhance humans.
Yeah.
You could talk to computers directly, access information instantly, even merge your consciousness with AI.
Whoa. I don't even know what to say. That's huge. But it also sounds kind of scary, doesn't it? Putting chips in people's brains?
Oh yeah, it's controversial. Humans and machines merging, it's fascinating, but also a little unsettling. Isaacson explores the ethical side of it in the book. We're just starting to understand what this technology could mean.
Okay, so you've got Neuralink messing with our brains, SpaceX aiming for Mars, Tesla changing how we drive, and Twitter, well, Twitter's just being Twitter.
That's one way to put it. Musk's in charge, making waves, stirring things up. Who knows what'll happen next?
And he doesn't hesitate to fire anyone who gets in his way. His standards are sky high.
There's this part of the book, he fires an engineer because the guy didn't know how much a piece of steel costs, right off the top of his head.
Get out of here. No way.
It's true. But that's the other side of Musk, that obsession with efficiency, with cutting costs. It's the same drive that's pushing SpaceX to build Starship, the fully reusable spacecraft.
Right, because that makes space travel way cheaper.
Exactly. And Starship, it's the key to getting to Mars. Musk thinks we need a colony on Mars for the future of humanity.
That's a big goal. Is it even possible?
It's a long shot. But hey, Musk has pulled out some pretty impossible things before.
And you can't deny he inspires people to think bigger, to take risks, to believe anything is possible.
That's his legacy, right? He shows you what human ingenuity and determination can do.
So what's next for Elon Musk?
Your guess is as good as mine. He's always evolving, pushing boundaries. It's impossible to predict what he'll do next.
One thing's for sure. He's not slowing down. He's got his missions, and he's not giving up.
Love him or hate him, he's one of the most interesting people alive today. His story shows us that even with all the chaos and controversy, we can still achieve amazing things.
This deep dive into Elon Musk has been, well, it's been quite a ride. From South Africa to Mars and everything in between. What stands out to you about all this?
What can we learn from him? His wins, his losses, the ethical questions he raises. These are things to think about, right? Technology is changing everything, and Musk is right at the center of it.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back next time with another fascinating exploration of a topic you want to know more about. Until then, keep diving. So we've got SpaceX reaching for the stars and Tesla's trying to change how we drive. Early 2000s, tech is booming, and Musk is right in the middle of it all.
What's interesting is how SpaceX started. It was actually about philanthropy at first.
Philanthropy? Really? I always thought he's more about, disrupting things, making money.
Well, he's got these idealistic goals, too, even if they're not, like, typical philanthropy. His idea was to send a greenhouse to Mars.
A greenhouse? To Mars? What?
Yeah, he wanted to show that we could grow things on another planet, inspire people about space exploration. Kind of a symbolic thing, you know.
I guess that would get people's attention, but how is he going to get it there?
That's where things get interesting. He goes to Russia, tries to buy rockets, and it's a disaster. The prices were crazy, and the whole thing was just, a nightmare.
Classic Elon. Someone tells him no, and he's like, challenge accepted.
Exactly. He comes back and decides, I'm building my own rockets. And not just any rockets. These things had to be cheap, efficient, totally different. That's how SpaceX really begins.
So they're starting from nothing. No team, no experience, just this crazy idea and a lot of willpower.
Pretty much. He puts together a team of engineers, brilliant people, but a lot of them thought he was nuts. But Musk, he never doubted it for a second.
He always seems so sure of himself, doesn't he? Like unshakable belief.
It's definitely part of who he is, and it's not just blind faith either. Isaacson talks about this thing he calls first principles thinking. It's how Musk approaches problems.
First principles thinking. What's that?
Basically, you break things down to the basics. You question everything, no assumptions, and then you build up from there. Musk also came up with this idiot index to get rid of unnecessary complexity, streamline everything.
So he's not just accepting how things are done. He's always trying to find a better way.
Exactly. And that's how SpaceX made rockets cheaper, which was huge for them. But it wasn't easy, of course.
I can imagine. Launching rockets is kind of hard, I'm guessing. What kind of problems did they have early on?
Well, the Falcon 1, their first rocket, failed 3 times in a row. That was tough. They almost went bankrupt. The pressure was immense.
Wow. So how did they survive that?
It was Musk's drive, his ability to keep everyone going, and yes, some luck was involved too. And we can't forget Gwynne Shotwell. She became president of SpaceX.
Oh, yeah, I've heard her name. What does she do?
She brought a different perspective, more practical, operational expertise. Isaacson really emphasizes how important she was. Musk is the big picture guy, and she's the one making it happen, keeping things on track.
Makes sense. You need both, right? The big ideas and someone to execute them.
Absolutely. And while SpaceX is reaching for the stars, Musk is also starting this other revolution here on Earth, Tesla.
Let's talk about Tesla. Everyone knows it now, but it wasn't always this giant electric car company. What were those early days like?
Remember, Musk was into electric cars way before Tesla. That T0 prototype, he saw the potential right away. But the big car companies, they just weren't interested.
So he figures, fine, I'll do it myself.
Well, not right away. He joins Tesla as an investor, becomes chairman. Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning, they started it. But, with Musk, it was only a matter of time before he was running the show.
He just can't stay in the background, can he? Always got to be in control.
Pretty much. And of course, there were disagreements with the founders. Musk had a very specific vision for Tesla. He didn't just want electric, he wanted the best car out there, period.
That's a bold statement. I bet those early days at Tesla were full of challenges, too.
Oh, yeah. Delays, money problems. They almost went bankrupt developing the Roadster, their first car.
So you've got SpaceX, almost broke, trying to get to space. And Tesla is struggling to get electric cars on the road. Musk must have been feeling the pressure.
Definitely. Isaacson talks about how hard he was working, the toll it took on him, sleeping at the factory, pushing everyone to the limit.
And his personality, that probably didn't help things, right?
Not really. He's demanding, wants things done his way, micromanages everything. It's all in the book. Like, there's a story about him planning a Tesla event, and he's personally designing the napkin.
Seriously?
Yeah.
The napkins, come on.
Yep. That's Musk for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm sure it wasn't always easy working for him.
I bet. Some people probably loved it, but some probably found it exhausting.
Exactly. It took its toll. His marriage to Justine, it falls apart during this time. And she's very open in the book about how difficult it was to live with someone so obsessed with work.
It's a familiar story, unfortunately. Success often comes with a price, especially for someone like Musk.
That's what's so interesting about Isaacson's biography. It's honest. It shows the whole picture, the ambition, the drive, but also the cost.
So here's Musk running these two groundbreaking companies, pushing the limits of technology, battling financial crises, dealing with all this personal turmoil, and he still has time for other projects too.
Right. Solar City, Neuralink, the boring company. The guy never stops. He's convinced that technology can solve anything.
And then there's AI. He's been pretty vocal about the dangers of AI, hasn't he?
Yeah, very outspoken. He even helped start OpenAI to make sure AI is developed responsibly. But all that outspokenness, it can rub people the wrong way, makes him controversial.
That's Musk in a nutshell, always shaking things up. And that brings us to Twitter.
Oh yeah, Twitter. The platform that would give him this huge voice and also cause him a ton of headaches. This is where things get really, really interesting.
All right, so final stretch of our Elon Musk deep dive. It's 2023, and Musk is at a crossroads, according to Isaacson. SpaceX, Tesla, those are huge successes, but there's a lot of trouble brewing too, especially with Twitter.
Yeah, it's like he's conquered the physical world, right? Space, cars, rockets, and now he's trying to figure out this digital world, social media, and it's not going so well.
It's a different beast, that's for sure. Plus, his personal life, still a lot of drama. The book mentions he had twins with Siobhan Zilis, one of the top people at Neuralink.
Yeah, that was a surprise. Like I said, never a dull moment with this guy.
Speaking of Neuralink, what is that exactly? Can you remind us?
Sure. Neuralink is working on brain-computer interfaces. Basically, chips you implant in your brain so you can interact with computers directly.
Sounds like sci-fi. What's the point of that?
Well, the first goal was to help people who are paralyzed to regain control of their bodies. But, you know, Musk always has a bigger plan.
I figured. So what's the big, crazy Neuralink plan?
He thinks it could change humanity. Like, we could communicate with computers just by thinking, access information instantly. He even talks about merging our consciousness with AI.
Ooh! I don't even know. It's incredible, but also kind of scary, right? Putting chips in our brains.
Yeah, it's a big ethical debate. Humans and machines becoming one, where does that lead? Isaacson gets into all that in the book. It's a whole new world we're stepping into, and we're not really sure what it means yet.
So you've got Neuralink messing with our brains, SpaceX going to Mars, Tesla changing the car industry, and Twitter. Well, Twitter's just a whole other thing.
It's a mess, honestly. Musk's running it, and it's been impulsive decisions, fights with people, trying to force his vision onto this platform.
And he fires anyone who disagrees with him. His standards are, like, impossible to meet.
There's a story in the book. He fires this top engineer just because the guy didn't know the exact price of some steel right off the top of his head.
You're kidding. Seriously.
Nope, that's Musk. Obsessed with efficiency, with costs. But it's also that drive that's pushing SpaceX to develop Starship, the spacecraft that can be used over and over again.
Right, so you don't have to build a new one every time. Much cheaper.
Exactly. Starship is the key to getting to Mars. And Musk thinks we need to be on Mars for the future of humanity, the survival of our species.
It's a pretty big goal, to say the least. Do you think it's possible?
It's a huge challenge, for
Yeah.
sure. But Musk has done some pretty unbelievable things already. Never underestimate him.
And you can't deny he inspires people. He makes you think, what if? What if we could do anything?
That's the thing about Musk. He pushes boundaries, he takes risks. Love him or hate him, he's changing the world.
So what's next for him? What do you think?
Who knows? That's what's so fascinating. He could do anything. He's always evolving, pushing forward. It's impossible to predict.
One thing's for sure, he's not going to sit still. He's got his missions, and he's not stopping until he gets there.
Whether you admire him or think he's crazy, Elon Musk is one of the most interesting people alive today. His story shows us, even with all the messiness, humans can achieve incredible things.
Well, this deep dive into Elon Musk, it's been quite a ride. We started in South Africa, ended up on Mars, talked about everything in between. It's been a lot.
It has. And I think it leaves us with more questions than answers, in a way. What can we learn from him? The good, the bad, the ethical questions. Technology is changing our lives, and Musk is at the forefront of that change. It's worth thinking about.
It definitely is. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. We'll be back next time with another fascinating story, another topic to explore. Until then, keep on diving.